All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you very much for joining me. My name's Carl Krenzel, your host here today. Thank you for joining me here on my YouTube channel or on my podcast at carlbuyshouses.com. Thank you so much for however you've happened to find me. And today, I hope that this YouTube post or this podcast finds you healthy, wealthy, and wise. Today, there's a lot of fear going around with regards to the coronavirus. Now, I'm not trying to add to this, but I do think there are a couple things that I'd like to add to this story, if you will. If you've got a property that you're considering selling, if you have a property that you have on the market at the moment, if you are a real estate agent somewhere in the United States and you've got property that you're responsible for, maybe you're a younger agent and you're trying to figure out how you should counsel your clients and how you should help them get their property sold quickly. Well, today's post is exactly for you. And I'd like to share with you some advice that I've learned over the past 23 years. And if you might give me just a couple moments of your time, I'll try to be very organized about it. I've already written it out. So today, what I'd like to share with you about is how to sell your home faster during the coronavirus. Now, again, thank you for sharing this. If you're watching this on your YouTube channel, I'd appreciate a shout out. Thank you for going ahead and tuning in. Please go ahead and share this with people that you think would appreciate this. And let's go ahead and jump right into it. First, I think it's important for you to understand a little bit about what you're about to face when it comes to coronavirus as it relates to the housing market. What you're about to undergo, currently it's March 3rd. What you're about to see in the next 5 to 10 days is not to scare you or anything like that, but what you're going to see is demand shock. Demand shock. And what this really is as people begin getting more and more news, correct or incorrect, about the coronavirus, they're going to get more and more scared. It'd be nice to say the more information that people get, the more rational they make as far as decisions and the more rational decisions they make. And then that's not always the case. When you get a bunch of people together, getting a bunch of information from a bunch of different sources all at once, typically what ends up happening is freezing. People tend to freeze. And what you'll start to find here in the housing market in the next 5 to 10 days, as the death toll unfortunately increases, as the sicknesses undoubtedly will rise, as they will, what you're going to find is demand shock. People are going to be more and more hesitant to buy property. They're going to be hesitant to go outside. Now, I'm not trying to make this a doomsday prediction or a scary situation, but I do want you to kind of think through your head for a moment, right? What if? Just a what if. Let's say you're a realtor right now. And you've got clients, you got listings that you're trying to represent, you're trying to sell their properties, and you're trying to give them some advice. What kind of advice are you going to give them about that? What happens if in your town there's quarantines? That's a scary thought. What if the infection rate goes so high they actually close down the schools? And kids have to stay home. How many single moms do you know are going to stay at home with their kids and not earn a paycheck? How many people are going to self-quarantine? I mean, these are just some thoughts to think about. I'm not trying to pose any kind of doomsday scenario, but I mean, these are questions you have to ask yourself. And if that's the case, then it's clearly going to show that things are going to increase if it gets into a pandemic state. Next, the federal rate cut that they just did of 0.5% is the most they've done in years. Now, keep in mind, the Federal Reserve has been bullied by the president. Certainly, no doubt about it. President Trump's made his feelings known very clearly about the Federal Reserve, and I understand that. But the Federal Reserve, they don't kowtow to the president, regardless of his tweets. They don't care what he says, and they're going to do what they're going to do. And for them to unanimously vote to drop the rates by 0.5% like that, as agreed from Friday to today, that goes to show you how seriously they take this issue. They feel that it is a serious threat. It poses what they call a continuing existing threat to the economy of the United States. Again, I'm not trying to scare you or anything like that, but I'm just trying to report to you what the reality that you're facing as a homeowner, as a realtor, as a real estate broker, as an investor. There's a lot of people who listen to my channel here, and I'm trying to go ahead and give you some really solid advice. And if they just reduced 0.5% today, and as a real estate professional or a real estate investor, you've got to know that they're going to do another 0.25% in their March meeting here in the next couple weeks. The interest rate's going to be dropping again. Well, then you have to think to yourself, buyers out there are going to hear this too on the news. And it doesn't matter what you or I might think about it. It's what the buyer ultimately thinks. And the buyer is the one who's watching CNBC and getting these reports. So you have to ask yourself, okay, as a homeowner, as a realtor, as an investor, as a seller, what do I need to do to sell my property? Well, let's talk about that. The 6 things that you specifically need to do right now, in my opinion, to sell your property. Let's go over them. Now, let's just start from the outset. My position. I have no dog in this fight. I'm not trying to list your home. I'm not trying to get you to, have me represent you to buy a property. I'm not trying to get you nothing. I'm just trying to throw out some information to you based on my experience as a real estate broker for the last 23 years. Okay. They used to have a saying back in the day, way back in the day, right? They used to say, as a real estate agent, this is all these old time brokers used to tell me this, right? They used to say, when you get older, what you want to do is write down all your stories from all the homes you've sold and all the things like that, and you'll into a book, and then you'll be able to sell it, and then that will be your retirement. That's what they used to say way back in the day prior to YouTube and the internet. Well, guess what? I'm here telling you all the stuff that I've known over the hundreds of homes I've sold over the 23 years or so that I've done this, in the hopes that you're going to learn something that's going to save you some scratch, save you some heartache, maybe save you a divorce. Okay. So let's just jump into them. Point number 1, take brand new photographs. That's key. Take brand new photographs. Now, I've saved the best one for last, so don't worry. This is not the strongest point I've got. Okay. But take the best photographs you can get. All right, because understand that now it used to be like 93%, but it's probably 98% or better now that actually start their home search on the internet. And so anybody that's starting to look on your home, whether it be on Craigslist or Zillow or Facebook or the internet on the Tucson multiple listing service or any other place, right? You want to start out having the best photographs possible. Why? Well, a couple different reasons. Because people instantaneously make judgments about your property based on the photographs they see. And if your property's been on the market for 30 or more days, it's a little stale, okay? It's a little stale. You want to freshen those photographs up. Put the toilet lid down, right? Maybe change the stuff where you might have had, a snow in the background or something. Change it up, right? Get the flowers arranged, move the couch. I don't know, but change things up in your photographs, because what's going to happen there, it's going to change everything in the photographs all the way down the line. Now, understand, from your Tucson multiple listing service, when you put your photographs in, that's when it gets disseminated to the sources like Zillow or all the other outsources, right? And it's going to take time for those photographs to get updated, if at all. So it's really important, if you're just starting out the very first time putting your home on the market, especially right now during the coronavirus time, you want to use the absolute best photographs the first time around. You don't want to mess around. Use professional photographs. Don't just, have Joe Schmuckatelli out there with his, don't do that. Make sure you get the best photographs, because the photographs themselves are going to tell the good story about your home. Point number 2. Now, clean everything. Clean everything. Your home is a price war in a beauty contest. That's the truth. Your home is in a price war in a beauty contest. It doesn't matter if there's coronavirus or if it's a wild market. If it's a price war in a beauty contest. And if you've got a really trashy looking house, and here's a big one, right? This is a pet peeve of mine. Maybe I might be incorrect, but correct me if I'm wrong. You tell me what you think, right? But if you walk up to the house, nowadays I just knock on the door simply because I know, right? More often than not, if I try to press the doorbell, I could press that thing till the second coming of Jesus himself, and it will not work. I mean, I don't know why. It's just the way it is. So for the love of God, fix the doorbell. And if it's broken, replace the doorbell. It's a simple fix. It's super easy, right? Replace the handle on your door. Make it simple. Make it something nice. Don't have something complicated and difficult to work with. Clean your house up. And I know, look, this is not for people who are trying to just sell their house as is, because I buy those kind of houses and I like it, right? The dirtier, the better. I'm cool with it, right? But if you're honestly trying to get the most money possible on the multiple listing service at this moment right now, a Jim Click dealership has enough sense, right? They have more sense than many people, right? They go out every day and they're hosing down those cars. Why? Because they know a clean car brings more money. Yet what do? Well, we have our clients out there, and they got properties and they got stuff in varying states of debris and decay everywhere. If you want to get the most money for your house, pick up the dog poop in your backyard. Hello. I'll move on because I know I'm going to get complaints. People are going to call the Tucson multiple listing service on me about that one. Point number 3, depersonalize your home. Amen. Depersonalize your home. Look, I'm glad you won, your bowling trophy for your bowling championship in 2008. I'm glad you did. Okay. But nobody else cares. Right. And all those photographs that you think are cool of you, with a dead bear that you personally shot with a bow. Hey, I'm down for that. I'm okay with that, but not everybody's going to be okay with that. I had a client one time. I promise you, you're going to think I'm pulling your leg, but I promise you, he had an extensive Playboy collection. And it wasn't like, just trashy, hustlers or this. No. It was all Playboy. And they were all, it's not like they were in plastic where they were not used. They were actually worked and used, but they were just in a like some people would put a Newsweek right next to your desk in a credenza. He would have all these Playboys in there. And for the life of him, he couldn't understand why he kept getting all these negative thoughts on comments on his house. Depersonalize your house. Just because you've got something in your property that you like, i.e. a deer head, i.e. Nazi memorabilia, i.e. insert crazy stuff here, then that doesn't mean everybody else is going to like that. If you want to sell your house faster, depersonalize it. Point number 4. Amen. Let the light in, right? Let the light in. Now, look, I don't know if this is of any value to you. If this is of any value to you, if I'm at least entertaining you, would you do me a favor? Give me a like, a rate, subscribe, share, do something. Tell other people about this podcast. Tell other people about this YouTube channel, because that's all how I ever really tell people about this, is just by word of mouth. And if you've noticed in the comments and all that, I've got, I don't know, a couple thousand subscribers, and everybody has just been a friend of a friend who's been invited by somebody else. And hey, I am so glad you're all here. So today, point number 4, let's jump into it. Let the light in, right? Okay. You want an easy, simple fix that's going to make you a couple extra grand on your house? Here it is right here. A lot of people tend to think what they need to do is go out and put a lot of extra money in terms of paint into the house. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, okay? Don't tell my wife. Don't tell my wife I told you this, okay? But she wants to repaint the downstairs bathroom. And I got to be honest with you, I hate repainting. I can't stand it. I hate it because it gets all over my clothes and my fingernails, and I hate it, right? And I do it because my wife, I love her. But when you think about it, taking down all the fixtures and all the other stuff is a pain in the butt, and it takes a little bit of time. If you're like me and you want to make extra money on your sale, but you don't want to go through all the hassle and the paint in your fingernails, let the light in. What you want to do is take the light bulbs out of that light sockets that you got there and increase the wattage, right? If you've typically got 60-watt bulbs in there, or for the rooms that you're typically trying to show, like your bedrooms, your baths, things like that, put a 100-watt bulb in there, or at least maybe one of them. Okay. Increase the wattage. Let that light start to get in there. We have a saying, and it's light, bright, and white, right? Make the house light as possible, as bright as possible, and make the rooms, the walls as white as possible. You don't want to have a really dark wall behind you, red, purple, green kind of stuff. No, you want to have regular colored walls, and light, bright, and white is the way you want to go. But if you can't, kill all that dead paint with kills and a fresh coat of paint because of time or frustration, well, you know what? Light is going to go a long way. Let's move on. Point number 5. Ooh, this is going to be a big one. If you're a realtor, you're going to give me a shout out for this one. You're going to love this one. Get ready. Use a lockbox. That's the truth. That's the God's honest truth. If you want to sell your home faster on the multiple listing service, wherever you are, including the Tucson multiple listing service, you want to use a multiple listing service lockbox. And here's why. Now, statistically showing, all right, I don't recall offhand the exact number, but it was somewhere north of 95% of all the homes that were sold in the Tucson multiple listing service. That's the only one I can speak for. I can't speak to Scottsdale or anybody else, but I suspect it's probably the same there too. In any event, somewhere north of 95% of all the properties that were sold in the Tucson multiple listing service sold in the first listing period, sold the first 30 days, and sold with a lockbox. Why? Again, you're going to call the realtors. The realtors might call the board, but realtors, well, sometimes we're a little bit lazy, right? I mean, if we've got to call the homeowner and say, hey, I'd like to show the property sometime between 1 and 3. Well, the homeowner, they might be willing to stay behind. They might be able to stay behind. They might have all the time in the world to stay behind. But man, traffic, life, things get in the way. And what happens then is you're out showing property with a customer or a client one time, and they get involved with a property. They say, oh gosh, I love this one. Let's make an offer on it. And they don't want to see your property anymore. And then they just drive on. They want to go back to the office and make an offer. So you leave, right? Now, if you're a good agent, you're going to remember to call up the person on the way there. Hey, we're not going to be able to make it. They picked another house. I'm sorry, something like that. But let's just be honest, okay? The barriers to entry to become a real estate agent, well, that's not on the test. Let's just put it that way, okay? Calling clients and telling them that you're not going to be on the way, that's not on the state exam, and I don't remember it being on the federal one either. So, when you think about it, what you've got to think about as a homeowner is, what's the thing I can do that's going to make it the easiest for people to show my property? And so for agents, a lot of times when they're looking through the multiple listing service, the dirty secret, this is the way agents look at MLS sheets. Okay. So again, I think if I'm going to get an MLS complaint, I might as well get 2 or 3 in one day. Right. So this is the way a lot of agents, not all, some agents, maybe myself included, I've done this from time to time, look at an MLS sheet. They'll look at the price, address, bedrooms, baths, the commission, obviously want to see what the commission's like. And then, they're going to look and see if it has a lockbox. And if the price is in the right price range, and it's the right location, right bedrooms, right baths, and they're willing to pay some form of commission on this, but if they don't have a lockbox on there, then that significantly makes it harder for you as an agent to show the property. Now, I know you as a homeowner think, well, this is asinine. I can't believe that. Why would that be a problem? Trust me, here's the reason why. If you've got a home buyer who wants to see a property, and they want to see 5, 6, 7, 8 properties, and Admittedly, an agent shouldn't do this, but they do. Let's say the agent agrees to show them 4, 5, 6, 7 homes all at once, right? The ease and ability to go from home to home to home to home to home with using a lockbox and just boom, ba boom, ba boom makes it much easier for the agent. And if they have to stop it or interrupt it or pause it or call you or anything like that, if you make it difficult for them in any way, then that's where they start to, that's where your home gets the last to be shown. And that's why you don't want to do that. So point number 5, use a lockbox. Statistically, you're going to get a better result. If you want to sell faster, I get it. It's a pain in the butt. I get it, but it's not going to be that big of a deal. It's easier to bust through the window than to bust through your lockbox. Trust me on this one. Point number 6, we're coming to the end, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Here we go. Point number 6. This is the one you've been waiting. And I've actually got one more that I'll give you that as a bonus tip if you want to stick in there. But let's just stick in here for the final tip. Drop the price. Drop the price. I know. I could have just gone without all the other ones. Really, I could have just skipped to number 6 and then this one, because this is really all you really need to do is drop the price. You need to drop that price. You need to drop the price. Now, here is the deal. I'm not telling you to just drop the price just by random numbers, just for some no good reason. I do have a plan, and I do have some, I don't know, what's the word for it? Advice for you, right? If you're a realtor, if you're a real estate broker who's not really been in a down market before, if you're a homeowner trying to sell your property, if you're an investor out there and you're doing a flip and you find yourself with your first flip, and oh my gosh, I can just kind of see you now as I look through, the view there, I can kind of see you with your first flip, and you're trying to sell it and it's not selling right now. And people are coming through giving you low ball offers. You put an awful lot of money into this property and now it's not selling. And now you find yourself a little bit sweating, right? I mean, you're wondering what's going to happen. Well, let me give you some solid advice on what to do. Okay. If you've got your property on the MLS or not, here's what you need to do when you start to figure out what to do with price. If, let's say, in the first 30 days, of your home being on the Tucson multiple listing service. If your home, now before I say this, let me just pause real quick, okay? Let me give you some advice as to the reason why I'm saying this. I'm coming at this approach from having experienced 2 significant drawdowns in my life, okay? And I'll briefly go over them. Once was early in my career. I mean, within the first year of being licensed, I was an agent at a company called Agent Owned Realty in Charleston, South Carolina. Shout out to them if they're listening. Bless God. That's where I cut my teeth. My broker over there, Ralph Wetherell, was a good broker. He was a good man, good-hearted man, caught me into the game, taught me a little bit. But what he taught me then was to always be aware of the price. Now, understand, when I first got in the MLS, the first got as an agent back then, in those days, 23 something years ago, that was when they did the base realignment commission. And all of a sudden, they closed the Charleston Naval Base. If you can imagine, this is very similar to Tucson closing Davis-Monthan. It would be similar to Tucson having Davis-Monthan close. And then within 6 months, really actually over about 4 months, actually, I guess is probably closer to that. Within 4 months, there was about 6,000 homes that came on the multiple listing service in Charleston, in the Charleston MLS, and they were being purchased by the federal government and then being reoffered for sale with a 6% co-op. Now, if you're not a realtor, let me put this in some real terms for you as a homeowner. Okay, what this really meant was this: in order for you to compete on the Tucson on the MLS at that time in Charleston, you had to pay 6% co-op, 6% to any other agent to bring a buyer by, and you still had to pay your agent the 3% or whatever you paid them, right? So commissions were easily 7, 8, 9, 10%. That's what we were charging when I first started out, when I was a young buck, 20-something years old, 20-something years ago, right? Now, when you think about it, times have certainly changed. And in 2008, we had another crash. And between those 2 crashes, I can tell you specifically what you need to do to change your price. If you're having problems with your property, if you're an agent or a homeowner, here's what you need to do. First 30 days on the multiple listing service, if you're getting a lot of traffic, let's go the other way. Let's say you're not getting any traffic. Nobody's looking at your home. Nobody's looking at it. You're not getting any offers. Nobody's showing it. No offers. Well, chances are you're probably at least 10% overpriced. That's where you need to consider your price. 10% at the minimum overpriced. Probably more. If you're a for sale by owner, you're probably more. Don't go by Zillow. For God's sake, please do not go by Zillow. Okay? It's just not as accurate as you think it is. Now, if let's say you are getting activity, you're getting a lot of calls. Maybe you're getting a couple offers, but they're low. If you're on the Tucson multiple listing service and you're getting a bunch of a bunch of showings, but you're not getting any offers, the offers you're getting are pretty low, well, then you're about 5% overpriced. That's where you need to start considering your pricing issues. So what do you need to do? If you want to really sell your property and get done with it, address the price and drop it right away. Final point number 7. Let me go ahead and just drop this final piece of information for you. Now, I don't know if this is going to be of any value to you, but I hope it will, right? If this is of any value to you, or any of the other 6 points have been of any value to you, then I would really ask that you would share this podcast, share this video, wherever you happen to find it. Please share it. And I would be eternally grateful. Like, rate, and subscribe. Let me go ahead and give you this final tip today, the bonus tip to make it worth all your while. Even better than the price, even better than cleaning up the property, even better than depersonalizing the home, letting the light in, using a lockbox. The number one thing that I always recommend people do when it comes to your property, especially when it comes to the price, is you have to be aggressive about your price and price it. The point number 7, point number 7, I guess, would be price it on the tens. That's what I call it. Price it on the tens, right? So many times, I see people price their property incorrectly on the multiple listing service, including realtors. Okay, now here's what I mean by when I say price it by the tens, okay? People tend to think of real estate and homes as though it's milk, and they are not the same. So, for example, people tend to price their properties at 109,999 or 109,9 or 99.9 or something 999, right? Or some version of that. And what ultimately happens is that works against you when you're working with a multiple listing service. Now, I understand the rationale behind it. Some person thinks, well, gosh, it makes it just underneath that, so it seems like it's intrinsically of value, and therefore there's this Freudian thing that goes on in their head. And okay, I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, and I don't know anything about like that. I'm not that bright. I'll be honest with you. I'm not that smart. But I do know how the multiple listing service works, and I know how people act when they're looking for multiple listing service properties. Okay, what they do and follow me, don't follow me, agree with me, don't agree with me, but this is just my opinion, and you tell me what you think. Okay, if you're a realtor, tell me what you think. If you're not a realtor, ask your realtor and ask him what he thinks about this. But this is the way I've seen it work. Okay. Point number 7, the bonus tip, price it on the tens. When a buyer comes to a realtor or a broker and says, I want to buy a house, they're typically qualified between X and Y, right? They're typically qualified between this price and that price. And I mean, almost always, they're qualified for more than they want to spend. And so they tell the broker, I'm qualified for 300, but I don't want to spend that much. So let's look at homes between, say, 280 and 250, right? If your home is priced at 249.90, 990 or whatever, 249.9, because you have it in your head that it's better than 250, well, guess what? The MLS doesn't care about this because you priced your property incorrectly in the first place. It never gets seen. You see what I'm saying? So, for example, you ultimately cut your marketing down by a third for wanting of saving $10 or $100 or whatever it is. So, if I was going to give you any salient advice besides point number one, taking brand new photos, making sure your toilet lid is down and all that other good junk, right? Point number two, cleaning everything, making sure the dog poops picked up in the backyard. Point number three, depersonalize your home, pick up the porno magazines, the cigarette butts, the alcohol bottles, the bongs, right? Point number four, let the light in. Point number five, use a lockbox. Point number six, drop the price. Point number seven, the bonus point, price it on the tens. Don't and when you do price reductions, if you found yourself at that point where you need to do a 5 or 10% price reduction, don't be foolish. If the math works out to 215, 550, well then make it 210, right? Don't be foolish. That's my advice for you today. Listen, guys, I really appreciate you paying attention. If this was of any value, like, share, rate, subscribe, share it with somebody you like. Thank you so much. And as always, I hope you have a powerful sales day. Take care. Bye-bye.